Okay. All right. So, welcome. We're the few of us who've joined here. Thank you. Maybe I'll just first start with a few ohms and invoke Mohanji before we get into this beautiful evening today. Om. 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 ॐ परब्रह्मणे विद्महे शिवतत्त्वाय धीमहि तन्नो मोहन प्रचोदयात् ॐ परब्रह्मणे विद्महे शिवतत्त्वाय धीमहि तन्नो मोहन प्रचोदयात् ॐ परब्रह्मणे विद्महे शिवतत्त्वाय धीमहि तन्नो मोहन प्रचोदयात् ॐ. Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. I guess most of you know me. I'm Runa, and I'm here today at the Mohanji Center of Benevolence in the USA to host our second episode of the experience sharing sessions. So, this is part of the transformation series. I think I would love to start by, resharing our intention of gathering here this evening. As you know, this idea of experience sharing has been inspired by Mohanji because he said to us how powerful hearing or reading testimonials are in the path of Datta. And our intention is also to use this platform that we have to come together and share our personal transformative experiences with each other. So hopefully in that process, we learn from each other and we inspire each other. And I think that way we can also walk this path, even if it's at our own pace. So I think that's really the intention of coming together this evening. So today we have a very special Mohanji family member here with us, Ashtamoorthy. And I want to say a few words about him because he doesn't say a lot, but I don't know if many of you know, he is the head of finance for the Mohanji Foundation Global. So that's a big title to have. And he's also the Mohanji Foundation USA CFO. So, yeah. And I don't know if people know this, he's also related to Mohanji. I think that is such an amazing blessing and such a unique perspective to have a connection for somebody, because imagine being born in the family of a master. Like, really, what a blessing. So I guess I can't add anything more to that. I hand it over to you, Ashtamoorthy, because today he'll be sharing his transformative experience with us since he's connected to Mohanji. So thank you again, everybody, for being here, and thank you so much, Ashtamoorthy. Over to you.
Hey. Thank you, Runa. Of course, I'm not the same family as Mohanji or anything, but it's okay. Every one of us are related. So in that sense, we are all same family. All right. So Runa wanted me to talk about the transformative experiences. So as she said, I really would like to keep my mouth shut most of the time. So since she wanted to talk and I'm talking itself probably uh, is the best example of it, so
Mm.
to say. uh, so about talking, I should say, even we like, as she said, I've met Mohanji, or we have known each other for some time, but then those were before Mohanji became Mohanji. So as Mohanji, I think I met him in 2013. So as I was talking about the talking part, or the like leaving away the shyness part, I should say COVID was a blessing in disguise for me. So the COVID wreaked havoc all around, but I was kind of using that time. I was able to use that time pretty well. Uh, During the whole period, I was the only one almost in the office, and we have a two-story office building. So when I go there, I could do conscious walking. And then
Wow.
our acharyas of the Mohanji family, they were running these meditations and all, almost like every day during the daytime or during nighttime. So, so during those days, it was like a pretty, not, I wouldn't say call intense practice, but at least I was able to devote a lot of time. The, the offices were pretty quiet, and even the business was like just, we were just staying afloat, and we didn't have much of new businesses coming in. So it was like a perfect time. We don't have much to do. The things were just moving along. So that time, I don't want to name the person, but again, the Mohanji Acharyas, they were having this POP meditations. So one of those days, we had the meditation, and again, some of those days it will be just like this. I mean, here at least there are 4 or 5 people that those days. Sometimes it will be just one person, me and the other person, or or maybe one more. So it sometimes get very intense, the meditation itself. So after that, she will start to say something. So one day she said, "Okay, you can now start talking. Don't be so shy. You just had. I mean, she talks more like Mohanji, or through his whatever comes through her. So she said, I will clean up the throat chakra, or heart chakra, or this and that. So I mean, I don't, I didn't, I even now I don't know if I know much about all that, but anyways, that was a very, those days were really intense. So one of those days that happened, and then I start noticing, okay, I can raise my voice. I mean, not raise my voice, but at least start speaking. And these days, maybe Manu and Ganesh, they are the on the other side of it, so they had to listen to it a lot more than probably they want to hear. So that was one of the uh, one of those experiences. Um, and before that, like as I said, I started uh, regular practices, or regularly meeting Mohanji in 2013. So we had a retreat in Yogaville, and that was the year when he started giving the Kriya uh, to all. And so we all got the Kriya initiation that year. And then I was practicing in the sense, at least I devote like that 30 minutes, sit there. But I wasn't sure if anything was happening or not. But those were also the days when you are curious. Okay, what is this thing doing to you? And this internet is full of I mean, it is full of junk and also some information. So I used to like read up on all sorts of things. So there was some Bihar yoga, then Kashmiri Shaivism, all these sort of things that where they explain what this Kriya does. So then the next year Mohanji came and he said, okay, now you just hold the cup steady. Then he can pour more. If you are just going here and there, finding out what is happening, nothing will happen. Just hold the cup steady. So from then on, I just dropped reading up or anything, but just concentrate on the practice itself. Then it started to like broaden. I wouldn't say call it awareness, but at least you start to feel better. You start to have more stability within. I start noticing those things after that, because till then probably I was doing it more mechanically, or may not be mechanical, but still there was this element of curiosity or element of wanting to know. That thing was dropped, and simultaneously one of the nights had, I mean, I'm not very clairvoyant or anything, but for some reason the Avadhuta Nadananda and Mohanji were there, and they were saying, okay, now develop the bhav, you develop the attitude of gratitude, or have that gratefulness, develop that thing. I wasn't very sure what really meant, what is really meant by that at that point of time. Uh, but then I started to like kind of contemplate on what actually is this gratitude. Eh, That also shifted some stuff in the sense, once you start to concentrate on that gratitude, things started to open up internally. Uh, so that mechanical doing of Kriya, or mechanically just doing it as a chore, changed into the intensity of it kind of increased, so to say. And also in 2016, I was lucky Mohanji had to choose in their team to go to Kailash. So, and that's an amazing place. You all know that anyway. The parikrama was really, really beautiful. The first time, the northern face, when I reached that end of the first day, uh, that it was profound in the sense, the whole mountain in front of you and just looking at you, and it kind of grows on you, inside you, and it just, the whole dam broke loose, so to say. Just you just sat there and cry. I don't know where tears were flowing down, but for no apparent reason. There was no rhyme or reason, but still, that was for a few minutes. I was just sitting there. The grandeur, or that what what Kailas is all about, or what you are all about, that was like in front of you. It just grows on you. And so that after that, definitely the others could feel that intensity, especially those who are in the family. Of course, nobody else was paying much attention to Mohanji, or to anybody for that matter. They all were feeling that kind of intensity. So all these were, what I said is, all these are like stages, so to say. Each of those, what it really does is ha increase that kind of awareness inside you. And when you look back at certain points in life, you're able to connect those dots and be free or detached from those events, uh, which, which at some point those events were so catastrophic, or in your mind they were so much uh, uh, of so much of importance. And for one example is like I did my chartered accountancy in India from 90 to 95. So that was one of I went into that field with no prior experience, or nobody in the family had done it, or it was, I took it up as a challenge. And intermediate, the test got two levels, intermediate and final. So the intermediate was okay. I got through in a couple of chances, but the final, it was really testing. I couldn't get through the exam for 2, 3 times, but then finally I had that yearning and that, like, okay, somehow make this happen kind of thing before the god or before other temples. And so I passed in the November 95 exam. I got the result in February. Then in May of that year, I lost my dad. So then then it was like, at that point it was more, hey, if you are yearning for something so strong in here, you have to lose something so dear to you. So from that point, I just lost, like, I'm okay, I'm not going to yearn for anything in this, from this world. It was more out of, not out of any awareness, but more out of maybe guilt or regret or whatever it is. It was a feeling like, okay, you got to be detached from everything in this world. You cannot just uh, um, you will lose something else on the other side, is what the feeling was. So struggle, you have to come to terms with a loss, and also you have to find a way to live, in the sense. So for till that point, there was somebody to guard, there was a guardian, whatever. And you are not, you will think that you're an adult at 20, 25, but still you're feeling this world. You don't know much about the outside world. So that those were times which were struggling. But why I was telling this was, like, after this, after we start this practice, after being Mohanji, now looking back, I could say that, okay, he was just making a way for me to get out of India, in a sense, because if he was alive, definitely I would have gone back. Statements, you can make a living out of it, you would have just stayed there. And if I had in Kerala, I don't know if I would have ever uh, uh, started following Mohanji or anybody else for that matter. So the whole path might have been it would have, the life would have taken a whole different path. And not only that, my uncle was a aerospace engineer, and he was teaching in IIT Madras at that time. And he was also consulting with the DRDO, the Defense Research and Development Organization. He was into this uh, integrated guided missile technology and all that. So me being away forced him to take up uh, the family home, and because my grandmother was still there, so he had to look after her, and that forced him to stay still in that native place. And that led him to write the translator Gweda. It took 7 years for him to complete that. But if he had started up with the consulting with DRDO, or if he had started traveling, he would never have finished that. So those, connecting those dots, I mean, this path, Mohanji definitely helped in connecting those dots. That's the major life, because we can leave away any kind of regrets or any kind of the guilt or any sort of those things away uh, from your life, and start to see how the grace works. That is the grace in our own life, and seeing that grace working will intensify the attitude of gratitude inside. And it's like it's that a virtuous cycle, so to say, one feeding off the other. And that bhav, what he was talking about, it really takes root inside of you. and that bhav itself will create or will bring in more grace, because they're all, I mean, he is also a form of Dakshinamurti, right? Dakshina is grace, and it's an Amurti. It's even Dakshina Amurti means even formless grace. It's that how it flows. We only, if we are aware, we can be aware of it and pay attention to it. Otherwise, it will, I mean, it was always there, but uh, once we start seeing that and paying attention to it, the gratitude will take root and will start to grow inside, which fills in more of grace to flow. That has been my experience, and it has really helped all along. And one other thing during those COVID days was, okay, on another day, she said, okay, now uh, you follow me, you are following me, your family is taken care of. Just don't hold on to hold on to them. Probably I held on to them for a little bit too longer. Otherwise, uh, it took like maybe a couple of more years before Savi started to, okay, follow Mohanji. So maybe I didn't leave her alone in her own ways at that point. So those are things which come to mind, and there is nothing fancy or nothing this thing, but it's only like how intensely we can cultivate this uh, how we can increase that intensity, intensify that, it starts to grow inside of you, as also then it will start to flourish outside too. All around you, you'll be able to like notice that grace flowing, and and be in that field of energy, be in that uh, um, I mean, it's more like the manifestation of that uh, grace around you, which will make you so humble, and so uh, you probably won't be able to fathom how it is happening, what it is happening, but still you will be able to kind of uh, stay focused and stay humble and stay grateful. So I think that's time, right?
You can definitely talk more, Ashtamoorthy. There's no time limit for you.
Oh, it's fine. Don't want to bore everybody off or put everyone to sleep, right?
No, no, this is really wonderful. If you do have something more, please do share.
What else I
Let me ask you actually, firstly, there are so many things you said
did?
that really stuck with me. Like one thing that just jumps off my head right off is you saying even something as simple as this is even though it was before you connected to Monji, but now you're with the master, so you can have that perspective looking back, is the change of location for you. Moving from India, how certain set of events led you from moving to India to US. Actually, you can see now in hindsight though that that was all part of you going and connecting and meeting a master in your life to work out the way it is working out now, and I can relate that personally too. Even I feel like I walk this path now because of this change of location for me, also, from India to US, and I feel that has been sort of similar in that sense for me. So even something so similar, which tells us that every event in our life has a purpose, whether it feels good at that moment or doesn't feel good, they all have a certain purpose. The other thing, actually, there are many things, but let me ask you one thing. I know you mentioned about how you were during the COVID time you were doing these practices, that you did the meditation and cleared your throat chakra, and then you had this sort of, when you were reading, you heard Mohanji quotes or something that he said that said, um, you try and be empty so I can pour into you. And so that's when you sort of stopped most of this searching and reading and putting information into yourself. And maybe can you elaborate a little more on that? Because it's wonderful, because I know you sort of jumped over that, but you said something very profound that from that point your awareness started to increase. So if you can sort of share a little more, that would help the rest of us, understand how did you shift from, or rather get into that process where emptying yourself and having more of that awareness.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, okay, what he said was just hold the cup steady so that he can pour whatever he can. I mean, how much ever he can fill, right? So till that, I mean, even right from childhood, I was a big news junkie also. Like I will read up everything from at least 2, 3 newspapers a day. And I mean, it was of no use mostly, but still I just like to, it's an intellectual obesity kind of thing. You just read up everything, and I could just say like, okay, there are 525 MPs in India. I could probably give like 300 MPs with their constituency and all that. So that was kind of so when I started Kriya, that same pattern was going on in the sense, okay, what does this do? Like, because you see, there are a lot of writing on like you do this, you do the Siddhasana, and then you do the and you sit in Siddhasana, and then you do the Shambhavi Mudra. So you basically is like inverting the cycle, like you go the vertical breathing. So that's what is mostly that happened. So at that point, it was like I was spending too much time on that the physiological thing. So what happens is then your attention is not on the practice per se. Your attention will go to these points, these things that if it may be somebody's experience or somebody's expectation. Okay, is that happening inside or not? You will start to like look at those checkpoints, so to say, instead of concentrating on the practice itself. So the priority or the intensity with which you practice is different when you're looking at it intellectually or when you're looking at it to see if we are meeting certain points that you're read of. So that is where I think that change happened. So when I stopped reading up on all these and uh, just concentrate on one thing, uh, then that kind of takes root there right away. And also it's that everything like kind of will fall in place at such a point. Is that better?
Yeah, I know that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, when we shift that mindset from being intellectual, then just going with the flow and focusing on just that one activity rather than having these checkpoints that mentally we think we need to. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. I actually can keep talking and ask you so many things you talked about, but I'd love to open it up to all of us here. It's please everybody. It's a casual environment, nothing formal. If you have something that you relate to what Ashtamoorthy said, whether it's he talked about many different things from grace to intensity to being able to speak, or if you relate to any of that, or you just have questions for him, I'd love to hear from everybody here. I think the intention is just to sort of share and learn from each other. So I'd love to open it up. And if you like to speak, I think you might have to unmute yourselves.
Ashtamoorthy Sangeet here. Great
Yeah.
hearing your story. When was a time, I do have a question. So when was a time when you felt that the path with Mohanji is your path?
It was pretty quick, or I didn't have any other path, so that was in the not that difficult for me. One thing was like, okay, there's one Swami Govindananda. Apparently, he was the one who told Mohanji to do something for the children when he lost Ammu. So this Swami was in Rishikesh in Shivananda Ashram, and so they used to spend some time. He, so he used to like he was my Sanskrit teacher. Like before I mean, he retired in 83 or 84 and left Kerala. He at first he wanted to settle in Sringeri, but that place was getting crowded, so he went to Rishikesh. So he during his time, like I was in the middle school or high school, so at that time he used to teach yoga, Sanskrit, and all that, and then most of the time he will just sit quiet. I used to go to his house, so he had a different set of newspaper there, so I will just read the newspaper, sit with him, and then come home. So at some point I was like when I got back here in US, I used to do yoga in the morning. So at around 2012, 2013, he used to I used to have the feeling that he is there, he is just guiding. Okay. So that feeling was there. And then in 2013, Mohanji's brother Manoj said, okay, he's coming. So I had no idea what Mohanji was doing at those time, but Manoj came home and uh, he said, okay, we can go and meet him. Okay, I said, all right, we can go. So he Manoj came home and he was here for 2-3 days, but Mohanji was obviously busy with all the programs. So our idea was to go and meet him in Viji's house or Lata's house, but that never happened. So he said, oh, they're not getting time. So I went and met him in there was a public, I mean, just like a POP meditation in one of the centers there. So I didn't tell anything. I just went for the meditation. They had Shakti Bhava. I came back. I didn't even say that who I am or we didn't talk or anything. And then I messaged him later. Oh, we didn't properly introduce ourselves, but that's okay. Then he came the next year again. I mean, I think that the first was 2012 or 2013, and then he came in 2014, I think. Yeah. So since then, there was no. I mean, obviously, I was reading all those blogs from ONG from like 2009 or whatever. So and the book. So there was no. For me, it was kind of easy. There was nobody else, so I didn't have to look outside of that. Does that help?
So you make it sound so easy, Ashtamoorthy, that Mohanji came along and you just, for a lot of people, it's not easy to recognize a master.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I mean, he came along, but still, yes. I mean, then it took a while for that to like really, really be I mean, internalize or assimilate that. Yes, because you have your doubts, you go through. He himself said, "Okay, you'll be tested." I mean, in the sense there were a lot of things flying around. So especially the internet. So there obviously were stuff written about him, against him, whatever. So you and sometimes the past doesn't help either. You know the like before he became Mohanji what he was and also the people around you tend to uh, obviously look at anybody through the ears, as he says. So you that thing also didn't help. So it took a while. So it that's what I said. 2 or 3 years you had to kind of struggle, and then obviously there were no other paths, so to say, but it's only him. But still to stay there, or to be like make that connection, it obviously took 2 3 years. It was funny. I mean, sometimes that you feel okay when he gets to Europe, you will feel okay. You'll have these vibrations inside of you. I'm not, as I said, I'm not a visual, or I don't have any clairvoyance, or not a visual person, or like out of the world experience or anything. But the body will start to like shake. It is the vibratory that level changes. So it used to change initially when he gets to Europe, or you feel differently than when in India, and then slowly that thing starts to like be steady within you. You can approach it, or you can be with that, like the Star Trek, you can be the force. I mean, you can be with the force, and that force grows on you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Would love to hear from anybody else. Do you have your own personal something to add, or maybe ask Ashtamoorthy? Well, if while you guys are thinking, I still have another question for Ashtamoorthy, but I'd really love to hear if you're feeling up to talking. So while I'm asking Ashtamoorthy, hopefully you all can think up something. The other thing you mentioned was, I know towards the end of your talk, sharing, you mentioned, I don't have anything fancy to say, but I feel like sometimes, like the words convey so much, but there is a subtlety under that conveys a lot more. And that comes through from your years or your own transformation over the years. And what I sense is the fact that, like you yourself have brought up, the intensity, right? So I can sense that. So even though you may not necessarily have in your perspective something fancy to say, that transformation is visible through your own intensity of connection and your own intense practices, which I think it's important for all of us to know, because sometimes we feel like when we talk we have to have something amazing or something to say. Well, that's great. That's also actually inspiring, but also sometimes the subtle that the words don't always convey
Yeah.
is also equally
Yeah,
helpful.
I mean, that's right. I mean, in the sense, that way I should say, like, I've been lucky. I've been internally, like, I was always been a very like intense person. So so you can like just crank it up, whatever notch you want to, but it's not fun for others living together. That's they were always because they had to bear it. You don't express it to so much. You don't have to say so much, but then that sometimes it does flow out, and it will. At least I've been lucky to have a family who can understand, or and the kids are okay with it. But yeah, I mean, it's a person to person sometimes, but that can sometimes it can be go either way. It is really good to have it inside of you, but then when it flows out, sometimes it creates problems too.
Does anybody, sorry, I don't want to take over everybody's questions. If anybody does have something, this is a good time to.
I just wanted to ask
Yeah.
there, how did you manage through, let's say, other people, especially if you're in your family, there's been history of knowing Mohanji before he was Mohanji. How did you
yeah.
deal with that or work through that yourself?
I stayed quiet, so nobody knew. That's why I said coming to USA, or if it was in India or Kerala, it is a different thing, because here you have this freedom uh, uh, to keep it to yourself. Yeah, I mean, even within the family also, during early hours of the day, nobody cares. I mean, mostly they will leave me alone. So those I had my time. I mean, even now we do it together, but at those times I could just have it for myself, and so that helped a lot. I mean, still, again, I'm not anywhere, but it's so far in the journey, I should say. That's a caveat.
Interesting. And what about in your work? Is there any impact? You also have quite a
Yeah,
intense role. And how's your connection with Mohanji impacted your work or helped you with your work?
oh
Or
yeah,
made it
sure. Yeah,
better?
the work has been really wonderful in the sense, okay, till 2009, I should say, or 2010. You see, that's the other part of the intensity which Runa was asking about. So when you're so intense, like till some point, it was only the work. It's like work, work, work. And obviously something will go wrong at work, and that kind of puts you off. Oh, you lose your identity, sort of thing, especially when you don't do that part. So then after Mohanji, I was really able to detach from that identification per se. And so now things uh, flow smoothly, in a internal turbulence or turbilations, all those are gone. Still, there may be similar situations, similar things coming, so to say. Yeah, but again, I'm not, I don't like preach or anything there, but I just uh, I always like I'm available there for anyone to ask or anything, but they also leave me alone, so I've been very lucky that way.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Um, depends if you want to continue or if anybody has.
Thank you. It's your bedtime almost.
Nobody needs to know that.
It's okay. Because
And
you
this
got
was really lovely, actually. Thank you so much for just, sharing your thoughts with us and what you've. It's always, I know, I can understand it's not easy for us to actually even sometimes take account or stock of the transformations we've had. And sometimes they're small, sometimes they're visible, sometimes they're not. But I think sometimes something like this forces us to just take stock of, a path we walked so far, and maybe that's one way of giving gratitude again back to the Guru, to Mohanji, for even having us at this point in our lives or wherever we stand. Um, yeah, thank you. Thank you again, everybody, also for joining and giving your ears and just having your presence here. Ashtamoorthy, really, thank you so much. It was really such a lovely feeling for us to hear from you, because I know you keep it quiet, and it's nice to hear your journey. I related to many things that you spoke. I think we need a part 2 with you.
Okay, thank you, Runa. I mean, it's been nice. Like, I mean, this is what you're doing is really great. So Thank you both.
This is part
Thanks a
of.
lot.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I wish everybody a very happy Christmas and end of the year. We'll continue with our episode 3 in the next year. We have a very special guest organized for next year. So I hope everybody comes back. Lots of love and Jai Mohanji.
Mohanji, thank you. Thank
Jai
you all.
Mohanji.
Thank you, Ashish. Yeah.